there, boys and girls, and all of those in between. My name is Maliena Bitchcock, and you're tuning in to Bitch Talk with Bitchcock. And I'm so happy to announce this is episode 11, and I have my very own drag sister all the way from Ashland, Oregon, the one and only Diva Disaster.
Hey, boys and girls!
Hey, bitch, how you doing?
I am surviving this whole entire thing. This lockdown has got me going crazy, and you got me in face. I shaved the beard today for the first time.
I'm so happy to hear that. Honestly, drag is good for the spirit, girls. So if you're at home depressed at all, you needed this.
Well, I get plenty of it. I just watch everybody else, so I don't need to do it. I see you doing it all the time. That's enough for me.
Well, I know that all of us are waiting for the one-woman show, Diva Disaster virtual drag show.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. You can see it here. You get it with Bitch Talk. That's it.
Well, I'm so lucky to have you. I'm very happy that you're here. Are you surviving quarantine all the way over there?
It's hard. It is very hard, but it is, it's working. I'm doing a kitchen remodel, so that's what's keeping me busy in this off time. Since I don't go back to work till September, I have a 6-month vacation right now. Hey.
Oh, okay, and I actually heard a little birdie told me as you're doing your kitchen remodel, you have been watching episodes of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock.
I have. I turn on YouTube and there's this bitch playing on my TV. So as she's playing in the family room, I'm working away in the kitchen. So I tell when I'm doing this.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I tell my boyfriend all the time that it's fun to watch the episodes, but if you have shit to do, just turn on the episode and listen to it like a podcast because it's fun just to listen to.
That's what I do. It's a background noise for me, so that's what I have going for me.
Oh, great. So when you're listening to this episode, you can be like, yeah, oh, yeah, oh.
It's more of a, oh my God, really?
Well, bitch, are you ready to get into the bulk of the interview?
Yeah, I'm drinking, so we're good. Let's do it.
Oh, you take a sip of that because we are about to go so deep. I mean, deep, deep from the first time in drag to our friendship in drag to your time as Empress. Bitch, we have so much to cover.
Oh, Lord. All right, let's do it.
Perfect. So, Diva, I think the first thing we need to know is actually, when did you first start doing drag?
Oh, wow. It's been 20 plus years since I started doing drag, and it was not pretty then, I can tell you that much.
Ooh,
from
tell
then
me
till
more.
now, what's that?
Tell me more. I love hearing when I'm finally the pretty one.
Right? You've got that going, and you got age because you're much younger than me.
4 years younger than you, bitch.
Hey, that's 4 years. I'm 4 steps closer to the grave than you right now.
Oh my God. That's, I don't like thinking about the grave this time and age just because I want to believe that we live forever like vampires.
Okay. Tell yourself that one.
Okay,
Find me Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep, and then we'll talk.
Okay, girl, let's get back to the subject of you looking like a trashy drag queen.
Right? I know. This is what she is. She's pure trash from head to toe. So it started.
Talk about your first time a bit.
Woo. The first time, it was harsh. It was all drugstore makeup, which nobody can complain about drugstore makeup, but 20 years ago, it's not the same as it was. So, not knowing the contouring and the highlighting, which wasn't hugely popular, but, it was a sad, and it was, the first time was performing a Britney Spears number. Boys.
Oh, my.
Yeah. At the erotic ball at SOU. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I totally remember the exotic erotic balls at the SOU. That is the Southern Oregon University out there in Ashland, Oregon. And the Queer Resource Center put on some fantastic events out there, and the exotic erotic ball is one of them. And that's fantastic that you also started out there.
That's where I started, and then I came into hosting, and then I hosted for 2 years there and then moved on. And then actually my first like big bar performance was in Eugene at Neighbors when it was still McNeighbors, when it was still there. And I performed with She Bang. So I was with Daphne and Diva and Caress at that time. So that's where she made her first big bar debut.
Oh, yes, works. So, Diva, what bit you and made you get the drag bug and actually made you want to start all this?
You know, I think it was, it's the performing part of it for me that I love. I love being on stage and I love performing and getting the audience into it and putting on a whole different persona that can take over and command the stage. As you know, I love to command the stage, so I want it all on me. So I think that's my biggest part of it is the performing aspect of it, and that's what I want, and that's what I love.
I think you said it right just a few minutes ago. It's all on you. I think that you just like all attention on you for that one moment, feeling fabulous, feeling fierce, and who the fuck blames you? Because, honey, that's why we do drag.
Exactly. That's why we do it. We want all the attention, and I want it all on me.
I feel you. I feel you so much. So, Diva, one thing I've always wondered that you've actually never told me, so I'm going to ask you on live television, so you have to answer. What made you choose the name Diva Disaster?
You know, it was so funny when getting in drag and trying to come up with a name is, you know how names are so personal to your character and who you are.
Absolutely.
You know, we went through tons of names and trying to come up with something when I had a drag mother for 6 months and that was it. And then she left the US and moved. So it came up with, you know, a diva is supposed to be somebody that's perfect and on a pedestal, and they're these grand people, women, and then a disaster, you know, is something that is nasty and ugly and has repercussions from it. So, you know, it's like a great oxymoron when you put diva and a disaster together. You get me.
You know, actually, I think when you put a diva and a disaster together, you get our friendship.
That's true. You know it.
Well, you know, I'm so, you know, I have to say for everyone who's watching, me and this bitch right here have known each other forever. Like forever. And we will get into that more into the interview. And I'm going to give her many opportunities to spill some of the shade, including some of the embarrassing stories about me. So it's definitely going to be a juicy interview for anyone who's tuning in.
It's like Beauty and the Beast. Beauty, Beast.
I mean, honey, you're the bear.
Well, no, I shaved it, so.
I'm just a delicate woman. Oh my gosh. So talk a little bit about the drag scene. So you mentioned you worked with She Bang and Daphne and Caress back then. How competitive was the drag scene pre-drag race?
You know, I just went up there and performed. I only was a guest every so often. So I wasn't really competitive into anything with anybody. So it was just, you know, emailed and said, hey, can you fit? And if there was a spot, then I would go and, you know, do it. So really it wasn't competitive for me at that time. And it really did not get competitive for me until, you know, about 10 years ago is when it really kind of popped in. So. Yeah.
Weren't you still in retirement about 10 years ago?
Just about, yeah. Yeah.
We'll probably get into that a little more in a minute. So let's see here. Tell me about the character herself that we all know as Diva Disaster. So you've told us a little bit. Tell us a little more.
Well, we all know she's loud. She's brassy. She's a bit of a bitch. She's obnoxious. She's, you know, sweet when she wants to be. But roll it all together, and what do you get? You get this.
I love it. And, you know, I think it's really a great character you have created. She's definitely a little bitchy at times. But I think one thing you said in our pre-interview when we were talking earlier is she's a bitch with a heart of gold.
Right. Right. Deep down somewhere in that cold, black heart, it's a heart of gold.
And the one thing I love about your shade or some of your comments you make sometimes, even your closest friends, like you'll make a comment and your closest friends will sit there and be like, is she joking or is she actually like coming for me? Like, do I need to get my blade out and cut her face?
Yeah, you know that. No, you know that better than anybody. So.
Oh my God. So, we will definitely get into that because I have some funny stories to bring up, especially during our road trip times. So, oh, girl.
Whoa.
So she's definitely a sassy bitch, which one reason I love you so much. Talk to me a little bit about the females or the divas that were included in like television back in the day that actually helped inspiring who you are now.
I think who has inspired her, because, coming up when I did, you're looking at the drag scene then, and it was, RuPaul was just starting to come into fruition, and you had Divine, and you had Dame Edna, and you had Danny LaRue. So those were kind of at the time, there were other big names out there, but they weren't the ones that you totally seen mainstream all the time. You had great impersonators in Las Vegas, and you had great impersonators in New York, but things weren't, YouTube wasn't there, the internet wasn't there, so you weren't seeing them, they weren't in your face all the time like
Right.
they are now. So there was inspiration that came from that, but I think there was a lot of inspiration that came from TV. So a lot of strong female characters. Like, it's so funny, as I was painting, I was watching Mama's Family. So Vicki Lawrence and Carol Burnett, of course,
Oh my God, yes. I love Mama's Family. I love that. And that's a great reference. Another one I think that probably had such a great impact on you, and I see in your everyday style and your personality, is Dynasty.
Right, of course. Dynasty, Dallas, those big epic show dramas that were just overflowing with glitz and glamour all the time, where they were perfect, and it was the hair and the jewelry and the clothes, and it was just always spot on. And then then you also got to look at, it kind of dates even further back when you go into some older TV, looking at kind of going back into All in the Family, or even the Brady Bunch, taking some of the stuff from Carol Brady and taking stuff from Alice. Of course, everybody always loved the secondary maid characters because they always have the best lines, and of course, Golden Girls. You got to take things from the Golden Girls. B. Arthur and Rue McClanahan, of course.
I was going to say, if you didn't mention the Golden Girls, that has been something I've noticed. To me, you are like a drag version of B. Arthur or Dorothy from the Golden Girls. You just embody Dorothy.
Yeah, she's in there somewhere because she's always, she's quippy, and she had those one-liners that would just sprout off, and she'd be like, bam, and knock somebody right down.
I love it. And it's sad because the only one I ever embodied was Rose, because I'm always the dumb one. Huh?
But no, there's some Blanche in there because you are quite a whore too.
Oh, girl. I have more, well, no, I don't want to say any STD jokes because that's not tasteful, but I make Blanche look like an innocent Catholic schoolgirl and not the ones you see in a porno. That's all I'm going to say. Now, Diva, I think you're a funny bitch. And, like I said, I've known you for a very long time, so I'm a bit biased. Do you consider yourself a comedy queen or a funny queen when you're on the microphone?
I like to think so. I like to think that I can command the audience and bring them into it and throw off the jokes and the one-liners and get people involved, because that's what it's all about when we're doing these shows. You want that audience to feel like they're part of everything that we're doing. We might be on the stage entertaining, but they still need to feel that they are so much involved and that they are one. It becomes one whole group, and we're a community, and that community comes together for those 2 hours that we're together, and that's what it needs to be. And you need to be funny, but there are moments where you're, at the end where we're very serious and we can say things to them, but knowing that everybody's taken away at home just that little piece of each one of us at the end of the night.
Absolutely. The piece that the boys usually walk away with me is like right here.
Yeah.
Oh God, please. You probably didn't even shave your titties today. That's why you have jewels all over them.
I wasn't going to shave. That's why I did it.
See, bitch, I know you did well. Oh my gosh, that is funny. Now, Diva, I know that you can be a funny queen. Now let's get into a hard subject. Can you be a shady queen?
Do you know me?
Yes, that's why I'm asking. And if you lie right now, just know God's gonna strike you dead with lightning.
Oh, that's already happened. I mean, this is just a shell sitting here right now. That's it. So, oh yeah, please. We're all shady.
The shade runs strong with this one. You know, there's the dark side, and then there's the shade side. And Diva is the emperor of the shade side. Shade.
Well, you know, we're all a little bit shady. We all have that little side of us that, you know.
You know, I even known to be a little bit shady from time to time. The important thing that I have found getting older in my drag career is shade and being shady is almost like sex. Is you have to have trust with the person you're doing it with. You need to make sure that you have consent first and foremost. And honestly, you just have to make sure you don't cross any boundaries. So, you know, that's the big thing I've learned. And, you know, one thing with you is I think you know who you're being shady to, so you know your audience.
Right, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, Diva, I hear you retired for several years from the old days. Is that true?
I did, yeah. I did retire, and she went into hiding and just kind of took a back seat because so much going on and just not enough time to do it. And you know, there was not a lot going on down here in this area, so it was like, well, why put into it when there's not anything happening here? So she went into retirement for a little while.
I think the proper word would be hibernation, because once she stopped doing drag, she turned into a bear. And I
know,
love it.
I'm missing my beard already. It's all right. I'm missing. Oh well, I can feel it coming through already. So we're good.
Oh, I love this bitch so much. And you know, again, if you love sexy, burly, bearish men, you should see her when she's all furry and yeah.
Hey.
Oh my God, you
Jingle and ready to mingle.
So absolutely, and that's something we'll talk about in just a few minutes. Now, Diva, what actually made you retire from all the glitz and glam when we know that the drag world can be so addictive?
I think it was just life. Just taking time and doing things that needed to happen and be done, and she needed a moment, and the moment arose, and that was the perfect time to do it. You know, it was very quiet, and what better time to stop and take a little sabbatical?
Now, during your sabbatical, I heard you would come out once a year, and you would host a fantastic show that we all know, at least you better know, and it's called the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and you worked with the Shadow Cast, correct?
I did. I hosted for 4 years, I do believe. So I did the opening MC, and then we did the de-virginizing, and I had a performance. There was always backup dancers, so it was always something big. And then I did play Magenta one year when we did the gender bend Rocky Horror. So yeah.
Oh my, how was it to actually play a full role instead of like just doing a character that you're used to?
Well, you know, it was different because it was a lot more involved than what I would normally do, because normally I would just host, and then I would sometimes just go in and just be a Transylvanian and do the time warp and that kind of stuff, and just be in the background when needed to be. But then taking on the Magenta role was like, ooh, she's got a lot going on here. This is more than I had bargained for.
She's a big role.
Yeah, and I'm used to stage. I've been on stage, you know, all my life doing regular theater. So when that actually came around, I was like, oh, this is different. This is big time.
Absolutely, and I hope you did it right, because what we've learned maybe from like this season of Drag Race is you don't do Magenta wrong. Otherwise, she'll call you out on social media.
No, I did it right, because our director, she was like, nope, this is it. This is how you're doing it. And I mean, we were spot on to the T. So
she's a kooky one. That's actually one of my. You would think my favorite character would probably be like Columbia, but I've always had an obsession with Magenta because she's a little insane, but like she's fabulous, and I mean, I love it.
She has it all. She's, you know, she's fantastic, and she's quirky, and she's witty, and she's incestuous. I mean,
I love a little incestuous. I am from Oregon, you know.
Right, Southern Oregon, Medford.
Oh,
hey.
God. So it's funny that you mentioned that. You know, I've also, the first time I ever saw you, Diva, you were actually working the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And funny enough, I was dressed as Magenta in a little French maid dress. And you were on stage performing Cher. And I believe you were doing the song Dark Lady.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember seeing you, and I think I only seen a drag queen live once or twice before you. So I think I saw like Daphne and Poison Water, and those were the only two queens before seeing you. And then I saw you performing, and I'm like, who is this bitch? And how the fuck is she from Grants Pass? And I fell in love. I remember waiting for you backstage. This is where it gets shady. And you come out the back door, and I'm like, oh my God, I love you. You're so fabulous. You're fantastic. Tell me who you are. And you're like, thank you. It's nice to meet you. And you kept walking.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I mean, I was not a pretty drag queen yet, so I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. And it's funny, Diva, you know, it's such a great moment that I met you at the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where that was a big part of your career. And then years later, I became the same position that you were, the hostess of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, where, you know, I introduced the cast, I de-virginized the virgins. And, you know, it's kind of that, when I got that role, it was almost that weird kind of full circle moment for me, because I remember sitting in the audience watching you, and then like 6 years later, I'm the one on stage with 300 people in the audience.
Right.
So,
excuse me. Yeah. So it was just like it was a full circle. So there it is. It came around.
I like to call it a full boob. So, girl, we know that you went into retirement for many years, and that you only came out specifically for Rocky Horror. What made you actually come out of retirement full time to start doing drag again? I'm wondering.
That came from two people. That came from Fake It Nightly and this bitch that I'm talking to.
That's right.
Okay.
In fact, I remember writing the message to you on Facebook. It might have even been MySpace back then, and asking you to participate in a competition.
Right? Yes. You were like, will you do this competition, Kings, Queens, and In-Betweens? I'm like, I can, but I'm not newbie. I've done this, and I'm going to win. So what do you want?
We made sure you were the ringer. That's actually why we hired you for that position. We had to make sure someone won. We had a whole bunch of amateurs from Southern Oregon.
Well, you know, it is Southern Oregon. And there's a bunch of fabulous queens here. But at the time, it was a growing scene. So, you know, it just helped bring it up and elevate it even some more. So
I think it's fantastic. Well, let's talk a little bit about the competition and coming out and doing drag the first time, competing against a whole bunch of newer girls on the scene. I mean, we asked a lot from you. We made you get ready with all of us while we questioned you in the makeup room.
Right.
I believe we had you do 3 different costumes. We had a formal, a casual, and a performance.
Yes.
And I wish I had the pictures from that still. And if I find them, I'll definitely put them in the comments here, because let's just say you looked
busted.
You look good. I mean, you look something.
I look something, that's right. I look something. So, and actually, you know what I have right here? Look, where is it? Oh, there it is. It's hiding. Look, there's the little crown, little tiara I got for.
Oh my God, you're tiara.
There it is. Oh, little tiny thing. Back on the shelf we go.
It's so funny because when we did Kings and Queens in betweens, it was kind of fun because we had me, Fake It Nightly, and Phil McCrevis, which was a drag king at the time, all sitting at a panel judging you, trying to give you like American Idol responses after every thing. And we're like trying to be shady and stuff. And I remember trying to be shady to you and you just throwing it right back, be like, nope, nope. I may be busted, but I'm still fierce.
Well, it's even so funny because it's like we didn't at that time didn't even know each other. So we knew so little about each other. What we met in the dressing room and we spent those couple hours talking, and that's about all people knew about me at that time. So it was a whole different story, that's for sure.
And it's kind of funny because from there, we started working together very regularly. We started building the drag scene, and one of the regular shows that we used to work all the time was at a little hole-in-the-wall sushi bar that at night, the back of it turned into a nightclub, and it was like this hole-in-the-wall drag show.
Oh,
and it was called Toroko Nights.
Oh, those were some interesting shows. You know, it was like we could have a great crowd where we could have the room entirely filled with people, or we would have the room filled with 2 people.
Oh my God, and you're not even exaggerating. You're not at all. There was nights that, again, we couldn't move. People were throwing money at us. It was crazy. And then other nights, we would get there and we'd wait, and there'd literally be only 2 people that would come.
I know we would send Debbie Dale out on the street, and she would try to hijack people to come into the show as they were leaving the festival.
She did good, though. I mean, that bitch, she would go on the street and come out with like 5 different people and be like, come and watch us. And, you know, you can't, every time you try to send me out to the street, I would come back with smeared lipstick and a guy on my shoulder.
Right? Behind the dumpster, behind the wall. We always knew where to find her.
There's so many nasty stories about Maliena Bitchcock and Toroko Nights. That was during my late 20s and my early 30s, and I was a slut, especially in drag, and the boys who loved the drag queens. And it was always funny. I had all you beautiful queens, and I was the clown, and they'd always flirt with me.
See, I can't do that. I never could do sex and drag. I always felt like once it all comes off, it's like, where does that all go? Somewhere. And I never could do it.
But Diva, what if, like, let's say Chris Hemsworth came up to you and be like, you are beautiful. I just want to take you to the back alley and have you suck my Thor's hammer.
I don't know who that is.
Thor, honey, Thor. Don't you want to? Thor from the Marvel movie?
Oh, I'm not. Now, if you would have said, like, what's his name? Aquaman, Aquamarine, what is his name? Jason.
God, what is his name? Jason.
Momoa?
No. We'll get. He's hot. He's mostly. Except
now, if you would have said that, I sat through that movie. I would have, like, yeah, hell yeah. I'd go underwater. I don't like water, and I'd go underwater.
That Super Bowl commercial that came out this last year where he ripped off his chest and his arms, it ruined it for me.
Right? I was like, what is this skinny? Oh, no. Oh. And then he took off his hair and he shook it and I was like,
That's
killed the fantasy.
Take your hair off.
I'd like to take mine off right now.
Oh, no, girl. We have to be pretty. We're delicate creatures. We're not men at all. So, Diva, you know, like I said, we've had some rocky shows, and most of those were at the little bar that we called Toroko. But on the plus side, we also had some amazing events, usually at a little restaurant called the Black Sheep out there in Ashland. Now, Black Sheep could hold up to 100 to 150 people, and usually every show that we produced there was sold out. Talk to me a little bit about the Black Sheep experience and doing shows regularly with us.
You know, I loved doing Black Sheep because it was so this, like, hometown space in the plaza in Ashland. So you had a diverse crowd. You had everybody from every walk of life that would come to our shows, and everybody got involved in it and had fun, and they were just like the best times to have there, because you always walked away with something different from that night. You never knew exactly what was going to come from it, but there was always something fun. The downside, there was no dressing room, and we fought over the freaking stairwell and who got what space to dress in.
It was pretty bad. So where we would have to get dressed was the fire escape in the back of the restaurant, and it was this steep 3-layer stairs, and all of us would fight for the bottom area because there was a table there. And because me and Faye usually produced the shows, we would get there first and push all the other bitches out of the way and be like, sorry, we produced the show. And Diva's like, fuck no, bitch. I was here first.
Right? So I showed up, and it's like, nope. First come, first serve. Bam.
Well, you know, honestly, Diva, with that said, that brings up an interesting subject, and that is our friendship that has evolved from an unlikeliness. You know, it's almost that the Beauty and the Beast, the Lady and the Tramp, the Lion and the Mouse. I mean, it's all of those, because I don't think any of us expected me and you to still be friends right now.
You know, I couldn't even probably even say that we would still be friends right now. So that's where it was like this weird juxtaposition for us to like looking at, you know, I don't want to say like a status thing or anything like that. It was just like one of us is here, one of us is here, and it's like, do our worlds actually meld? And they do in a way, but they're still you know, we both have our likes, we both have our dislikes, but we meld together well, and we have a great camaraderie that happens. So, and it is one of those things that I'm glad it happened. So, you know, my life would be much different if you weren't around all the time. That's for sure.
I definitely think that would be true. I think life would be a lot more boring. And I think it's funny that you held up the scales of where we were at the time, because I think you were definitely up here and I'm just the trashy queen over here. But it's funny, Diva, because with time, I think that scale has kind of shifted, and I might be the more, you know, polished sister.
Shade of it all. Shade.
Just saying, you know, I figured, you know, this is the year that I'm hoping will be big for Bitchcock.
Right. And I back you 100% in everything that you do. So you always have my love and support no matter what you do. So.
Well, tell me a bit about your first impression of me. Like, we all know I was a crazy queen. I was a little weird. I did not know my boundaries back then. I'll admit it. My makeup was ugly. Talk to me a bit about what you thought about me. No filter, the pure truth.
One word. Busted. I was like, because as you said, when we first met, it was like you came up to me and you were, I don't want to say fangirling or anything, but it was just like, okay, I've got to go over here now because this is what I need to do and I need to get away from this person right now. So it was very out of the blue, and I was like, okay, she's pretty. She's okay. She got a nose on her, and she got some. I was just like, moving it, yeah.
She did not know how to contour back then, and again, she wasn't just using Maybelline makeup. She was using like Dollar Tree foundation and blush, and she was. Well, you know,
it's even funny when you go back and you look at those days when you first started, and because I had seen all your pictures and I've seen everything that you've done, and it's like looking at it, it was like, wow, she was actually kind of soft then. She had, you know, it wasn't hard, you know, it wasn't look like the crayon box exploded all over her face at that time. She was soft, and then, you know, she evolved, and now she is, you know, her clown, and that's what she is, and that's the person I've grown to love now. So,
It's funny you said that because people now mostly know the clownfish, crazy Maliena Bitchcock, the big makeup. None of them know where I kind of came from, where I used to be an impersonator. I used to want to look like a real girl. I used to wear blonde hair, which I don't ever do anymore. And it's funny seeing some of those pictures because, like you said, it's like I go back and I look at those and go, fuck, I was actually pretty. Who knew?
she was soft.
She's
very
still soft. She's soft. Feel the skin, honey. Touch all of the skin. You're nothing but an overgrown orangutan.
Yeah, but she's rough around the edges, that's for sure.
That's why I get all the men. No one wants a pure, innocent woman. They want someone that's wild in the sheets.
Oh, Lord, oh, Lord.
Diva, in fact, we have spent so much time together. We have even gone on some crazy, crazy trips together. From one of my favorite trips that we did was we went and saw Bianca Del Rio in Portland for Gay Pride.
That was so much fun.
Yes, and then we did several trips to coronations. What's maybe a great memory that you have either traveling with me or maybe even traveling with any other queens?
I've done a lot of traveling, and I can say you are not a good travel companion.
Really now?
Do not get stuck in traffic with her, because we were going to an event in Eugene, and we got stuck in traffic because there was an accident, and it was like 45 minutes or an hour. We just sat on the freeway to stand still. And this one, if I had a razor blade, I would have cut her because she was all up in it going crazy.
Well, I have anxiety, and when I feel trapped, I tend to freak out a bit. And I didn't used to smoke pot while we traveled back then because you didn't like your car smelling like smoke. So I tend to have to grit my teeth. And when we got stuck that time, I was like ready to like open the door, jump out, and be like, let me out!
She was too. I was like, nope, grab her, pull her back in because she's gonna run. Like she's running for the border. She's going. She's going.
It's funny you bring some of that up because some of my favorite memories of you is anytime we're in the car, you can guarantee that show tunes are playing.
Oh, well, yeah, that's always the given. So, yeah.
I think I've listened to this Hairspray soundtrack at least 50 times. So
yeah. Which is so funny because now if you get in my car, what you're going to hear in my car is whatever show I'm producing at that time here. So, because I usually take everybody's music and compile them together and put them on a disc and then put it in the car so I can listen to it and hear the show and make sure everything's flowing well together and stuff. So, I think what's still in my car is the last show I produced in Grants Pass is still in. No, the Randall show. The last Randall show that you did is still in there.
I wasn't in the last Randall show. That was Riri and Mercedes and
no, the show before, the one that you actually did here, is still in my car, and that's what I'm still listening to. I haven't changed.
Oh. Well, damn right, because we're fabulous. So, Diva, like I said, we've gone on road trips. We've known each other a very long time. Knowing you, I feel like has helped evolve my drag, and I'm very happy that I have you in my life because, I started very rough, and I think having the critiques and someone who would say you need to fix this, you need to try to go this direction really helped me. And, I would say we've known each other almost 8-9 years. And in that 8-9 years, I mean, probably more the last 3-4 years, I have changed so much.
Right. Oh, yeah. You have. Big time.
And with that said, so have you. Go ahead. I talk a lot. You can just talk all over me, Ben.
I think there's, we all have to evolve. And if we don't evolve, then there's no growth. Sometimes you can look and you can see people can get stagnant in one set. This is it. And that's what's going to happen. You've got to evolve. You have to change. And I've seen it in you big time. And then you watch others out there like Lilac. Lilac has evolved huge. Or Kimberly Michelle, and the way they evolved from when you see them when they first started to what they are now. It's phenomenal. It's like, you know, this huge 360 spin. We all need to go through it, and we all have to make this, you know, the change. We have to evolve to what the times are. We can all still be glamorous and we can still be big, but you still have to evolve with the times.
And it's funny that you mentioned Lilac, because it's something I found out about her is she's only 4 years old in the drag community. So she evolved so quickly, where
Right.
some of us, you know, had to take time. Like, I mean, it took me years to get to a point where people considered me polished, considered my character not busted. And, you know, I think it's funny because kids are really lucky this day and age, and something they don't understand from when we grew up, Diva, is we didn't have YouTube, we didn't have RuPaul's Drag Race, and it was a lot harder to try to figure out what to look like as a drag queen.
That's it. And that shows for everybody. You have to have those moments when you have that light bulb that clicks on and you go, ah, it's an aha moment. And you know, okay, that really works for me now. And you know, that's the way it is. You know, we all have those moments.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think it's important to find who you are as a character, because I think the difference that a lot of the newer kids who come on the scene don't get is you need to have a full realized character. And it's not about just being a man dressing as a woman. Sometimes you need to put on a character. You need to learn to perform first and foremost. A lot of these kids don't realize that this is a performance art. They think it's
Right.
just dress up time. And no, if you want to get paid, you need to be willing to entertain your audience.
That's it.
And
That's it.
that's so important.
It is. And that comes with your evolving. You know, it's something that you and I have talked about in the past, is knowing that the audience that you're playing to, you know, if I'm going to an audience that's full of 20-something club partiers, I don't want to break out the Angela Lansbury or the, you know, Bernadette Peters for them. You want to break out the Jessie J and the Beyonce for them. But then it's a vice versa. If you know the audience is going to be older, I want to pull out something that's a little more mellow that they're going to enjoy, that they really know. So you have to have that line, and you got to know when you need to follow the line or when you need to step over it.
No, and I definitely agree. And that's something I think has been my biggest evolve, is that I learned to keep my fucking mouth shut and learn to be classy when I need to be classy and learn to be loud when I need to be loud. And I think that's one thing our friendship has rubbed on you a little bit, is you've always been kind of the classy, you know, fabulous, kind of snooty drag queen. And I think being friends with someone like me has made you more comfortable with being silly, making you feel more comfortable with being just weird and loud. And, you know, that's one thing I've noticed through your evolution also.
Yeah, and I think it's very true. There was the moments where you need to be that demure and you need to be that uptight or whatever, but then there's some moments where it's just like, I don't give a crap anymore, and this is what's going to happen.
Absolutely. And speaking of demure, that actually kind of leads into our next subject. I know one reason we used to travel so much is you were actually a past Empress of Eugene. I believe Empress 43? Is that correct?
Yes, Empress 43.
So tell me a bit about your experience.
Well, you know, it was like when I first came into it, I was like, okay, I'm doing this, and I'm doing a 3-year plan. I'm making this happen in 3 years. I want to be the first. Okay, this necklace is really driving me crazy now. It does not want to stay in place. I costume malfunctions.
It's cool, girl. That's why I just wore my little necklace so my tits can be the feature.
You know, anyways. So it was like a 3-year plan. So, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go in. And of course, you know, I started with the Heart of Oregon. I, you know, won that. And then, you know, first, let's take this back. The first one I did was Gay Eugene. And I lost Gay Eugene by 3 points. So I was like, oh, okay.
And I'll say this, you bitches haven't seen nothing until you've seen Diva Disaster lose a competition. Driving back in a car with her after she lost.
Ooh.
She's willing to spill all the shade.
That's like cone of silence. What happens in the car stays in the car.
Well, I think I remember it that night, but I think I even remember it one year for the Northwest Fierce pageant that you did, and you ran, and I forgot who won that year, but I just remember you didn't, and I remember getting a phone call. You weren't even out of Portland yet, and you're like, "Fucking, I didn't win, but guess who fucking won?" And I fucking love that about you, because the one thing about being a friend with you, Diva, is you never have to wonder what you're thinking.
That's true.
You will say it as it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Whatever is there is going to come out, and you're going to hear it. So yeah, I lost the Gay Eugene, and then I went on and I did the Heart of Oregon, which then I won Heart of Oregon, and then 6 months later, I was asked to be princess with Corinne Stat Butler, who was Empress 42. So I stepped up as princess. And then within my 3-year plan, I said, okay, I'm going to be the next empress, and I'm going to be one of the first empresses from Southern Oregon. So I'm like, okay. So then I stepped up as Empress 43 right after that. So I was like back-to-back titles for 3 years in a row. So there was a lot of traveling in those 3 years.
It's not easy. If you're not familiar with the court system, it takes a lot of traveling to do the representations of your titles, especially if you're Empress. You need to go to other realms, which are as far as Florida, Canada, Texas. And I mean, Diva, why don't you actually tell us about some of the fun places you may have traveled during your reign?
Wow, what did we do? Well, it was great because I had a great support system. I reigned alone, so I didn't have an emperor, and I didn't have a prince or princess, so I was pretty much on my own.
I remember. I'm still bitter that I wasn't your princess.
And there are times that I look back on and I really kick myself that I did not have you be my princess. I just thought at the time when I was going over it, I was like, she's not ready for this yet. And I'm glad you did what you did, because that is what set you on your track. So it was just at the time I just didn't think you were ready to jump into that role yet.
And fair, but I probably wasn't.
Right. And I had a great support system. I had my half empress Helen Heels, and I had my half emperor Nick from Seattle at the time. So they were with me, and they represented in Portland and up in Seattle and Tacoma and those areas when I wasn't there, but they could represent Eugene because they had the half titles, so they could take care of that for me. And then I could take care of everything here, and then we would travel all together. And so, we went to so many fun places. Of course, Seattle is always fun. Bellingham, girl, you've been to Bellingham, correct?
Oh yeah, and that was I would say that was probably one of my more crazier weekends when I was Empress.
If you want to drink, you go to Bellingham, because Bellingham, you will drink.
And I will say this, Diva, with Bellingham mentioned, if you're single and ready to mingle, that's also the place to start flirting with the boys, because I was not on the market and I got flirted with 6 different men wanted to take me home. So, yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. And then there's and then of course, if you can attend San Francisco, you gotta do San Francisco, because that's one of those coronations you just will never forget. And then other places we had great times, and we had Boise, and we had, of course, Salem and Portland, and you meet so many people and you have so much fun. But it's always I was always one that was so happy to come home. Always so happy when we pull back into the driveway. So.
Well, it could be long weekends. Some people don't realize these coronations are 6 to 8 hour events. And then we travel to go there and then travel to come back. So when it's all said and done, I don't blame you for feeling get the fuck out of my car and let me go home.
Right. And I was always the last one because I did all the driving usually. So it was after I dropped everybody off, I still had at least 2 hours from Eugene home by myself. So that was yeah.
true. And you know, I do kind of want to touch on a quick subject of, you mentioned you've met a lot of friends and you made a lot of contacts. One of the biggest friendships I think you made during your reign as Empress is one of the people that you had also representing with you, and she is well known in Portland for being glamorous, being just a mentor to our community, and that's the beautiful Helen Heels.
And talk about a shady bitch.
Is she shady? I would have never known.
Oh, remember the cone of silence when you're in the car? Woo! I love her. And we had so many great times together and so many nights together. You know, our biggest thing was we would drag, and then of course we would go to Silverado's afterwards and then drink. And then on our way home, it was just like everything just comes spilling out. And, you know, but I couldn't ask. She was so great to have there with me during that whole entire time, that she's very level-headed and kept a lot of things grounded during that whole entire time. So she's one of those people that you want to have in your arsenal, and as a friend and as a comrade, and just, you know, she's it. So
Absolutely. And the one thing I've always loved about Helen is she, even if she feels like, you know, let me rephrase this. If she feels like she sees something that, if she points it out, will help you grow, she will not be afraid to tell you, no matter who she is, where, if you're Empress, if she's below you, if she feels like she can give you some advice, she will. And even if she just wants to tell you that you look busted, she's not afraid to tell you that either.
She's not afraid to say it and speak her mind. So yeah, that's one of those people that, you know, and I met a lot of people that were like that, and there was a lot of people like that. Mr. Bill and Champagne, Stephanie Fox, all those great queens and people of the court that you meet along the way that you just bond and make these friendships with that will last. And you're just like, these are the people that you want to know and the people that you need to know, because they just make your lives that much better.
And especially the older queens like Helen Heels, Stephanie Fox, Champagne. Those queens taught me stuff during my reign that I didn't even know, and some of it being elegant. Helen, I mean, she still doesn't know to this day that you'd be so mad. You're going to be so mad that I'm about to say this, that she's part of the reason I learned to be an elegant creature. And it's not from you. I'm sorry. But wow. Helen actually told me how to hold my hand when posing, kind of how to kind of hold your chest up, and always telling me to hide my bra because she says I'm not a whore. I don't need to be showing my bra. I love that bitch. And, you know, she's given me several beaded gowns and dresses to help evolve me. And, you know, talk about a queen willing to give you the wig or dress off her own back. And that's the great thing about some of these older queens, Diva, like Champagne and them, is they really come from an era that you give them the wig off your head to make sure that your fellow community succeeds.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it's so funny when you say the way you stand. It's so funny because you look at all the pictures that we have all together. We all stand the same way, with the hand up, and there's always a ring usually on that hand. And
Helen taught me that too.
Every picture we have.
I started doing it, and Helen's like, "Oh God, Bitchcock's doing the Helen pose." So, Diva, you know, honestly, you did so much traveling as Empress. One thing I really think that is important for us to know is, why was being Empress so important to you?
You know, I think it was community. It was showing what is out there and what needs to be shown, and the awareness, and bringing the community together for these charities and stuff that we work for, showing people that it's not just looking pretty and being, you know, putting on this fancy stuff, but it's actually doing something that is for the community and is going to help somebody in the long run, you know, whether it be a food bank or a women's shelter or a humane society or something like that. So it's putting a face with a name and bringing them together for a good cause.
I think that's very fair to say, and I think that's a great reason to want to be Empress. You know, when I ran for Empress, I thought it was a complete different creature that it ended up being. I thought I was going to have this giant platform to make all these giant changes in my community. And the realisticness is you have a year. You have a year to make slight changes and to raise a little bit of money for your community. And, you know, that year goes so quick. So quick. I mean, it feels like one moment you get crowned, the next you're stepping down and passing the crown to the next person.
Right. And, you know, that's what I feel so bad for everybody that's reigning right now, because everybody's on lockdown. They're not getting to attend the things that are happening. And you watch, you know, just looking at Salem, they canceled their coronation, but they still crowned, they did a vote and they still crowned their A&E, but they're not getting the pomp and circumstance. They're not just getting that recognition that comes off of the top like we got when we were crowned at the time. And it's, you look at it, all the courts everywhere, everybody's canceled, and it's a hard time to be part of something where we know it's something where people love and they want to be out there raising the money for all their charities and for their community, but we're all at a standstill right now, and that is hard to look at.
I think it's very true to say that, Diva, is, you know, being at this standstill, I mean, it's even hard to know where we're going to go next with the court, or where we're going to go next as a community or a performance community, because a lot of things are going to change after this. I have a feeling, depending on how long this goes and how impactful this virus affects our world, we may come out of this in a whole new world. And, you know, the idea of the court or the way that we did the court before this may not be the same way. And, you know, we may have to rethink a lot. And the important thing to remember when all this is said and done is we need to be there to uplift each other and be that family that we've always known, because it's going to get harder before it gets easier, because even when they release us, it's not going to get easier instantly. It's still going to be a struggle.
Yeah, and we're not just going to fall back into that, hey, look, there's a show on Friday night or a show on Saturday night. It's going to take time to get people back in and acclimated to the things that are happening, because it's like you can't even go to the grocery store now without a mask or gloves, or knowing that you have to carry hand sanitizer everywhere you go because you don't want to touch something. And there's a lot of precautions now that we have to look at and that we're going to have to take coming in the future. You know, it's like you keep watching the news, you read articles, and they're like, this isn't the worst, we're not to the end yet, you know, when is the end coming? We don't know. So it's like it's very hard to deal with, that's for sure.
You know, and it's very true. And, you know, all I can say is the thing that gives me hope is that there's a lot of online content going on. There's a lot of performers that are not giving up and who are keeping their spirit going through live shows, interviews such as this, drag queen reading. And I think that's important because it's showing our audience and the people who support us that even during hard times, we're not going to give up.
Right. You know, I mean, I can't say that it's all that easy watching somebody in their bedroom performing, but
it's not always. And, you know, I'll say this, Diva, from someone who did it last week, and it's why I'm not doing it again this week, it's not fucking easy to perform in your fucking bedroom with lights at you, using music from your TV. It's such a different creature, and it's weird.
No, and you know, I applaud anybody that can do it, because I'm not gonna do that, but I applaud anybody that gets out there and does that. And you know what? It's great, because they're still keeping the spirits of everybody up that still wants to see it, and that's what it all comes down to, you know.
Absolutely.
Keep it alive.
I agree so much, girl. Yeah, so girl, speaking of, let's go a little bit into, so we've talked about you being Empress, we've talked a little bit about your drag past. Let's go into a little more current, like this day and age of your drag career. Let's talk a little bit of who Diva Disaster is now.
She's still the same. She's still loud. She's still obnoxious. She's still a bitch.
She's still the same sassy bitch that she was 20 years ago?
No, I think, you know, there's been a major involvement from that, because, you know, 20 years ago, yeah, I hosted, but it wasn't anything like I do now. So hosting now, I think, is so much different, and into the audiences that you have to play to and that kind of thing. So she's evolved, of course. Everything, as we all do, we evolve. And when it comes to hosting and being out there, that evolves. It's just, you know, her style is totally changed when it comes to the audiences, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And let's even talk about a little bit of your style and how that may have evolved. So I'm sure when you first started, you were probably starting with a Ross Cross dress for less dress and made some Maybelline makeup. How has your drag style evolved from then to now?
Ross dress for less, please. My closet does not look like Ross. Never did it. No. I think
she says she don't buy off the rack, but she's a liar. I know she buys off the rack.
No, I mean, and it's totally great. And you know, sometimes you got to be a queen on a budget. And when you start, that's what happens. But you get to a point where you finally are just like, yes, okay, I'm evolving. So does everything else. As you know, hair needs to evolve, and gowns need to evolve, and jewelry needs to evolve. It is what happens. And you know, it was so funny because you asked me that in the pre-interview, how much would my closet be worth? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't even put a dollar amount on my closet, on the drag closet.
That is such a scary thought to even think of as a drag performer, because I thought about it after the interview. Like, I was looking around my room and I'm like, how much money is in this room? And you start calculating wigs, jewelry, heels, dresses, the padding, the boobs, the makeup. And I'm telling you, people, an average drag queen's closet has probably $4,000 or more worth of product in it.
Oh, I mean, I can tell you what my Empress here cost. So I know it's yeah, that number is not going to be made public, that's for sure.
Okay, fine. We'll save that for my Patreon account for the people who actually want to pay for the tea. Well, you know, Diva, you know, I love that. And everyone does, like we said, we've said through this whole interview, people are going to evolve, style's going to change. One thing I really love about you, even in the small time we've been friends, I've witnessed you evolve a lot. From, you've always been fabulous. You've always had that kind of fierce, glamorous Texas woman style, big hair, flashy outfits, feathers. And I would say probably the more years it went by, the more refined it got, you know, just bigger jewelry. And I'd also say you learned to get a little more like hip, like be more youthful with your look.
Well, yeah, I think that happens because, you know, you go from, and you're looking at the, you know, you're looking at the Dynasty look and the Dallas look where it was big shoulder pads and, you know, beaded sequins and all of that stuff and little cute little rhinestones and stuff. And as it evolves, things have to get bigger, but then it's got to be more sophisticated, but it's still got to be more fun. And then that's when it started coming into more of the, you know, it's like I finally just in the last year actually started wearing the leotard, which for me is not, you know, I'm a big girl, you know, stuffing all that into a sausage ain't pretty when you're on stage, but you know, I've done it and it works. So it happens, and you have to make that conscious decision. So yeah, you know, hey, she is what she is.
Bro, you're cutting out.
Oh, you got me? Hello.
Well, and you know, I think that's very fair to say, Diva. Hello, it's me. I was wondering after all these times if you'd let me interview thee.
Well, you know, I was asked first. I was asked first, but timing wasn't right for me, so here I am, number 11.
Well, it's better now than ever, right, bitch?
That's true. That's true. I'm here, and I'm happy to be here, so.
Well, our connection's a little iffy, so I do apologize for the people watching, but we're going to keep this interview going. Now, Diva, why don't you talk about what does doing drag actually do for you?
You know what drag does for me? It's performance. It's an empowerment to raise up and elevate, you know. I'm very, a lot of people know me when I'm not like this. I'm very kind of quiet. I'm very to myself. Or if I'm just in my group, it's good. But when I get into a large group, then it's like, this is not me. I can't do this. But put all of this on, you know, she becomes the center of everything. And, you know, this is so funny because this takes back to a time that we were in Seattle. We were at investitures for Seattle, and I was there with Salem, and it was, at the time, it was Johnny and Riri, and Helen was with me, and we were doing our thing. And Riri and I were in the middle of this group because we went out, and it was a fetish night when we walked into the bar. So there was all these guys in like wrestling singlets and leather and jocks, and the next thing I know, Riri and I are standing in the middle of this group of guys, and they're all around us. Oh, yeah, that's a.
That sounds like it got a little bit into an adult story for a minute.
It could have happened, but then Helen left me. Bitch was gonna leave me there, so I had to go. I couldn't finish what was happening.
Oh, poor diva. Well, I mean, that makes sense. Some scandalous things happen when you get us queens together and we're left alone with sexy men at the bar while we're drinking.
Right? Speaking of drinks. Hey.
Get your drink, this thing. So, Diva, do you think drag has actually added a confidence for you in real life at all?
She's added something, that's for sure. I know when it's on and she can command the room and have control and have all of that, it's a great thing. But then there's that moment, as you know, that as soon as I take my earrings off, I take my lashes off, I'm done. I want out of this. I want to be over it. I want to be home. So she does have a confidence when she's out, and there's an error, and she puts on this huge thing, and she does everything, but then, you know, it's still inside. There's that moment where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. I need my security at home.
Yeah. And I feel you. I think we all get to a point while we're in drag that we hit a breaking point where we're either to a point where we're uncomfortable and we can't do it anymore, or even our social anxieties kick in. So it can be very stressful, and sometimes it's that moment, okay, my wig's off, I'm done, I'm not taking any more pictures, I'm just ready to go home.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I feel you, Diva. I definitely do. Now, Diva, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about Diva Disaster?
That she's a bitch.
Well, I mean, is that a misconception or the truth?
Well, I think it's a little of both. I think that she is. I think people do think that. I think that people think that she is sometimes you know, she's kind of on a high horse sometimes. I think people get that. I think it's just a matter of people actually getting to know me and taking the time to know who I am and what she's all about and what makes her tick. Otherwise, she is who she is, and what you see is what you get. You just have to have that moment. You gotta say hey. You gotta be like, you know. And I've had plenty of my closest friends call me out on something as it's happening. So I'm not afraid for someone to call me out on it. So.
You know, and I hear you, honey. You know, I think a lot of people do think that you're just this mean, cold-hearted bitch, or that, like, when you're being playful, that you're actually being serious and you're trying to, like, be actually malicious towards someone. And I don't think that's ever who you are or what you're doing. I think it's just kind of you being playful, and the fact that you know that you have a relationship with this other person you're being shady with, but this outside source doesn't know that, so they just think you're being a fucking bitch. But anyone that knows you, anyone that works with you, knows that you have a heart of gold, that, you know, you can be a little bit sassy, of course, but you're a fantastic person to work with, and you are definitely a good person to have in your corner.
I like to think that. I like to think that I am that person that, you know, hopefully anybody could always trust and come to. So, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that, you know, I do wear my heart on my sleeve a lot of the times, especially for the people that are the closest to me. And they're the ones that will know that for sure, that I would bend over backwards for them. Bitch, if I could bend over backwards, I would.
Well, I think you've proven that, bitch. I mean, you really will do anything you can for the people you love. But I also think with that said, you're very careful who you let into your inner circle, which I think
Oh,
is
yeah.
very smart because you're a very polished and established queen. You can't just let everyone who wants to be part of your life in.
That's it. I am very close. I'm very, very careful with that. And you know, it's funny talking to somebody the other day. It was like, I think I can probably count my closest friends on one hand because those are the people that I want to be there with me and be the closest and know all of the good and the bad and the ugly. You know, it's not something that I'm going to share with everybody at all the time. So, you know, if you really want to know me, you need to take the time to get to know the person and learn. That's the biggest thing, is learn who she is, and not even matter who she is, who I am.
And I think that's very fair to say, Diva, because, you know, judging someone by what you think they are is not giving that person a fair chance to show you who they are or get to know them, because you're judging them on what you think they are, not who they are. And you always have to give that moment to get to know this person, because again, if you think someone's this cold-hearted, evil bitch, I can guarantee you most people, I would at least say most people, aren't out there to randomly be mean to random people. Now, there are some people who are just complete assholes and that will do shit like that. But knowing you, I don't think you're nothing like that, Diva. I think that you, again, have a heart of gold, and you're just there to have fun. And, you know, you just want to be sassy because that's part of drag.
That's it. That's it. I'm not out to destroy anybody, and why would I want to destroy somebody? You know, I mean, I'm one of those people that can hold a grudge, yes, and break my confidence and my trust, yes. If that happens, it's going to take a long time to get that back. But I'm not going to hold a grudge against or not hold a grudge against somebody that I'm going to go out and be vindictive. You know, I'm not going to be malicious to anybody, and I want everybody. You know, everybody should have their moment, and that's my biggest thing is, have your moment, and I want you to shine. You know, and that's when I produce my shows here. I always make sure that that is happening with every one of my performers that come here, that they do have that moment to shine on that stage. It's all about them.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important that you'd have that as a producer. In fact, I think that's a good subject for us to go into, as I do kind of want to talk about some of your current shows that you do right now as your drag career. I know you do quite a few shows with the Labyrinth Society, and you volunteer with them quite regularly, raising money for their organization. And you've been known for doing drag shows with them for almost 4 years in Grants Pass.
Yeah, yeah. So it was really big when they first approached and said, we want to do this show. And I said, oh, in Grants Pass. Oh, okay. This is new. And, you know, we did it, and it was sold out, standing room only. And here we are 4 years later. We're still producing the shows. We moved into a larger venue. We have the home bar now that we do our shows at. We've got even into the larger events with producing the Drag Queen Bingo now. We did the Pride last year. Then we did Christmas. You know, Pride is still on our calendar for June. We haven't canceled yet because we don't know what's going to happen. So we're still holding on to that. But it's been a great thing. And with the Labyrinth Society, I do sit on the board as the vice president of the board. So we do raise community awareness, and we raise money. So we raised money for the Humane Society, the Josephine County Food Bank, Operation Rambo, which helps put service dogs with veterans. We've done a lot of different charities in the Valley, and we try to work with it here, and we want to keep it in the Valley and raise awareness for them, and then raise money for them to help them in whatever needs they have at that time. So it's a great organization to be part of. You know, it's so funny because we had a board meeting yesterday, and it's like doing these meetings now that can only do them over Zoom, where we're sitting there, and it's just like, it's so hard when you want to be in the same room with these people that you've been with for years now, And it's a different story now. That's for sure. But I love working with the Labrador Society, and I love raising money for our community and doing what we can do here. And with the shows that we produce here, you know, it's so great because I have friends like you that I can call up and be like, hey, we're doing this show. Do you want to be part of it? And you're here in a heartbeat. And I have so many others that are always so happy to come down here because our audiences crave it. They thrive for the queens because it's not an everyday thing here. And we sell those shows out when we do them. So it's huge for our community, and it's great building for our community to see so many people come together of all different walks of life that you wouldn't think that, you know, here we are down in Southern Oregon or in Grants Pass. It's, you know, very, I don't want to say redneck, but it has its moments, and they're coming out for this. And you know, you look on the audience and you see this guy and you're like, oh, ooh, he's the one shoving the dollars down in your titties all night long.
It's true though, because I've been to several of your shows and we'll get these rough, shaved head, bald, fully tattooed, muscled men, and you're almost intimidated until they see you, and then they like are calling you over and they're like patting your ass, calling you honey, and it really it gives you hope as a performer because you see someone that you would expect to almost be aggressive or you'd almost expect a negative experience, and they show how much they've actually grown and how accepting they are to people like us. And I think that's really wonderful to see this day and age, especially working in a small town such as Southern Oregon.
Right. And that makes a huge difference here, you know, because we've seen it in Grants Pass, we've seen it in Medford, and we've seen it in Ashland. So it's a very the community is diverse, but it still has its moments where you go, ooh, that's scary.
And it's true. I mean, even the last show that me and you did together in Grants Pass, we had protesters that were standing outside the venue, shouting at performers, shouting at our audience, holding signs. And it just shows that no matter how far we've progressed, no matter how great things are getting, there's still those few people who will go out of their way to bring us down.
Right. But the great thing is that we know that our audiences that are there to see us have our backs and are supportive of everything that we do, so we don't have to worry about that, you know, especially when we it's fantastic. That's all I could say.
Well, I think that's fantastic, Diva, and I really do appreciate you doing shows. The one thing I will say is you've done amazing shows, including the Labrador Society shows, but you've also been involved with producing shows for like the Oregon Shakespeare Festival for, I know, 2 years, at least 2 shows that you produce drag shows for their Out Weekend. Is that correct?
Yeah, Out Weekend has always been a big part of it. So, you know, bringing it down here and bringing the girls in and doing big venues and doing big stuff has been huge. And of course, you know, again, it's another big fundraiser and fun event, and it brings the community together and all walks of life that want to be part of it and see it.
And, you know, the one thing I find so important about you as a producer when you create these fantastic shows, Diva, is you're not booking one type of drag queen. You're not just booking the pretty queens. You're not just booking the funny queens. You almost book one of each style. You got the glamorous queen. You got the dancey club queen. You got the quirky, weird queen, which is usually me. And it seems like you really know what you're doing when you book a show because you have such a variety of girls from all over Oregon.
That's what I always look for. I want all walks of life. I want everybody to be involved in it. You know, I want that. You know, when you look at a show and I'm casting a show, I want the fat queen is me. And I want the pretty queen. And I want the queen that's going to pop and lock and drop it and flip flop on the stage. And I want the big ballad queens, and I want everybody. And that's when you have to have a diverse look at everybody. You can't just make it all one set type, you know. I don't want to look at it and see a bunch of leotards and knee-high boots. I want everybody. I want to see gowns, and I want to see suits, and I want to see everybody pulling all the tricks and the stops out. And that's how I cast a show. I want people that the audiences will enjoy.
And I think that's fantastic. And I think the important part of that is that you have traveled all over Oregon. You've met so many amazing queens. And because of your relationship you've grown with some of these queens, you're able to bring them in from Portland, Washington, Salem. And it seems like all you ever have to do is just ask a queen and they're there to supporting you.
Yeah. That's what that has been the easiest part, is that I can open my mouth and say, hey, we have a show on date. Do you want to be part? Yes, I'm there. So I get that. I get that very easily. And people know, and they know when they come here, they're treated well. We make sure everybody's taken care of, and we make sure that, that they're going to walk away with something at the end of this experience, that they've done a show. So.
Absolutely. Now, Diva, you've done a lot of shows. We have the Labyrinth Society, we have the OSF Out Weekend. Even most recently, you've put together a regular drag show before shutdown happened at the Randall Theater out in Medford, Oregon. I was in your first show there, and I really think it's amazing that you bring these drag shows to a small town because, again, we started drag. I started drag 15 years ago in 2005 in Medford, when I thought drag would never happen. And then we kind of slowly grew it. And it's really wonderful to see what you did with the drag scene, because when we used to perform, they were smaller shows. I mean, they were still fun. People still enjoyed them. But now you've evolved it to a whole different level where there are these gigantic shows with casts that range from all over Oregon. And I think it's very impressive that you built that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a labor of love, that's for sure. So bringing it together and making it happen. But then I also have great people in the community that approach me and say, we want to do this. We want to make this part of our regular agenda and our regular show list. So that helps too, that the community wants it to happen and that we can make it happen.
And I think that's fantastic to hear, because I think a community that's thirsty for it is a community that's going to keep these shows lasting for a very long time. And when someone like you is behind the reins producing these shows, it gives me hope knowing that we're going to have always high quality and a safe place for us performers who are coming from out of town to come and perform with you.
That's my biggest thing. I want everybody to be safe and have a good time when they're here.
Now, Diva, as we were talking about your regular shows that you have, such as the Randall Theater, and booking queens from all over Oregon, and what greatness that is actually doing for a small town such as Ashland, Medford, or Grants Pass. So I really admire what you're doing.
Thank you. I try, that's for sure. I try to bring in a diverse group and showcase everybody. I want everybody to be showcased in this community here and give them a chance to shine. So
absolutely. And I definitely think that's something you learned from me. So Diva, we're almost done with this interview. The last thing I kind of really want to know is, what are we to expect next from Diva Disaster?
It's still going to be who she is and what she does. Our shows here in Medford will grow with the Randall Theater, hopefully, and the stuff that I produce with the Labyrinth Society is going to grow. Once we all come out of this lockdown and actually can start doing things, it's going to be a free-for-all for a while, that's for sure. Everybody's going to want those bookings, so I'll be looking for some talent to bring down here to Southern Oregon, that's for sure.
Well, I will say this, first and foremost, I love performing with you, sister. And anytime you need me, all you need to do is ask. And then if you don't ask, know that I will hound you until you say yes.
Well, you always know you're on my top of my list. That's always one of the first ones asked. So you always have that, that's for sure.
That's the benefits of bringing a bitch out of retirement, right?
That's it. You get first dibs.
So Diva, I'm really excited to hear that you're going to be continuing the shows for the Randall Theater. I'm expecting that there's going to be tons of Labyrinth Society shows, including bingo. So keep your eyes open if you are from Southern Oregon, Grants Pass, Ashland, Medford, and make sure to follow Diva Disaster on Instagram and Facebook because she is keeping up all the current shows. And if you want to go to a high quality show, I definitely suggest keeping up with Miss Disaster.
Come play with us. We have fun.
Oh my God, I love it when you play with me right here.
Right? Oh, girl.
So, I have one more question. And so we've known each other 8 years. You've seen the best of me. You've seen the worst of me. What do you think of the evolution of Bitchcock and the fact that I've created a platform of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock where I'm interviewing performers from all over?
I've seen you grow from, this little baby queen that is soft and demure and not quite there to, this, you have your own startup now. You are who you are. You are the Bitchcock. Everybody knows that name, or they should know that name. And, you're going to do great things. And you've done great things. And, I can only wish the best for you from this day forward.
I appreciate that because, again, you've been nothing but supportive throughout my whole career, especially, a lot of people don't know you've supported me through the rocky times also, especially when it hasn't been the prettiest. And again, where we're performing to 2 people in the audience. And again, people, if you don't support this bitch, make sure to follow her on Facebook and Instagram. Also, Miss Diva Disaster's information for Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App will also be in the description of this video. So if you'd like to tip her for spilling some of the tea, sharing some of the secrets, and going over all of her drag career, it's highly appreciated. And if you'd like to support me, as I keep bringing Bitch Talk with Bitchcock episodes to you 3 times a week, my Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App information is also in the description. With that said, I also have a little special announcement. I have now come out with Maliena Bitchcock stickers. And there are 2 styles. And if you would like a Maliena Bitchcock sticker, we have Cotton Candy Housewife and the Yellow Feather. They are $5 a piece, and you can Venmo, PayPal me, and I will just send that out to you via mail. And hey guys, you gotta love a queen with some merch.
Get those stickers. Put her all over you.
Damn right. I'm gonna use them as pasties. Now, Diva, I'm really excited because we finished the main interview, but we have a couple of games to play. Are you ready to play a game with me, little girl?
Oh, all right, let's do it.
So do you have any booze with you by chance?
You should ask, but of course, there's always a bottle somewhere.
Yeah, so why don't you get yourself primed and ready, and then we're gonna play a Bitch Talk with Bitchcock favorite, Truth or Drink. Oh yes, it's so tasty.
Ooh, all right. I'll probably be drinking more than I will be telling the truth.
Well, I'll say this. You definitely have the option I'm going to ask a shady question, and you're going to have the option to either answer it and tell a little tiny story or take a drink.
All right.
Okay, so Diva Disaster. What is the wrong question. What is the most scandalous thing you've ever done in drag? Oh, are you a lady? Do you need a drink?
I am a true lady through and through.
Oh, she don't kiss and tell, apparently.
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So we got you a drink there. Diva, do you think me, Maliena Bitchcock, is a busted queen? Who is she gonna keep?
You know what? When I first met you, Yes. I thought you were busted from the floor up. But what you have evolved into now is you are a true and genuine queen through and through in everything that you do and everything that you throw yourself into. So, to that, I toast you.
Oh, love, baby, love. Thank you. See, I was expecting a shady answer with that one. Okay, Diva, for number 3, tell us about the worst performance flop that has ever happened to you.
Worst performance flop. Oh, well, this was competing in a pageant, and I was doing a special mix, and my hair fell off during it. I lost my wig.
Oh my God!
So that's probably one of my biggest flops that I've ever had. And I kept going. I didn't stop, but I lost my hair. So yeah, that wasn't the greatest moment of my life.
Hey, we've all been there. I remember one of the times where I thought I was having my Britney Spears moment, and I went to do a hair flip, and my wig went on a trip all across the room.
Across it. Hey.
So, Diva, for the last question of truth or drink, tell us an embarrassing story that has happened to you while drinking in drag.
It's funny because I probably don't, as a lot of people know, I don't drink a lot when I'm in drag. 1 or 2, and that's about it. So I don't have a lot of embarrassing stories. I have embarrassing stories about others. All kinds of stories about others that,
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily encourage you sharing those stories unless we absolutely know that they wouldn't mind.
Oh, if I shared any of the stories of others, I would be shot. So
I'm gonna get on the assassination list.
I'm going to drink.
Drink, baby, drink. Well, perfect. Now that we all got you lubed up and primed, we're gonna play another game. And I actually kind of am more excited about this game than Truth and Drink. And to be honest, the only reason we did Truth and Drink this time is so I could get you to drink a little so we can get you to be honest for this next game.
I'm scared.
So
I'm scared.
You should be, because this game is another Bitch Talk with Bitchcock favorite called Marry, Kai Kai, or Cancel. And the point of this game, love, is I'm going to name 3 names that you may be familiar with, that you may work with, and you're going to tell me out of the 3 people who you would marry, who you would Kai Kai with, and that's fucking, and who you would cancel completely. It's shady, I know, I love it. It's a controversial game for sure, but it does have.
All right, bring it on.
All right, bitch, let's see if you can survive round 1. As I got some of your closest friends from the court system, Miss Riri Caliente, Miss Helen Heels, and Miss Tina Louise Sapphire.
Oh. I love them all, but I would marry Helen.
Ooh.
With Kai Riri, and I would cancel Tina Louise.
Ah, you're gonna cancel Tina? The shade. Okay,
well,
perfect.
Y'all know I like a big girl, so hey.
Oh, you know what? Each their own, baby. Each their own.
Oh.
Ooh.
I just had a party.
It's a party.
I just shattered a wine glass. Okay.
I promise.
Moving on.
So for number 2, Miss Diva, we have Daphne Bertha Storm, Vivica Valentine, and maybe Tonight.
Lord. God, girls. Well, Mary Daphne,
Oh,
Kai Vivica, and
good boy.
cancel maybe.
Oh my God! You just canceled maybe tonight.
Oh, I did.
Oh my God! She's never gonna forgive you. Maybe if you're watching, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's real. So for number 3, we're gonna jump back to the court system and we're gonna pick some of our favorite empresses. We're gonna do Sunshine Ray McPherson, Genuine Beauté, and Summer Seasons.
Oh, God, you're a horrible, horrible person.
I know, but I've come to terms with that.
I would marry Genuine,
Mm-hmm.
Kai Summer, and cancel Sunshine.
You keep canceling the real girls, bitch.
Because they're women. What do you expect?
Again, the views and comments made in this interview are not, again, to reflect against Miss Maliena Bitchcock. Just saying. Hardcore, bitch. Hardcore. Oh, the tea is real. Okay, so for number 4, we have. I can't believe you just said that.
Wow.
The things you get on camera. So for number 4, we have Lilac, Kimberly Michelle Westwood, and Jessica Rabbit.
Oh Lord. I'd marry Lilac.
Who wouldn't?
I would Kai Jessica. And I would cancel Kimberly because I know she's high maintenance.
I can't really disagree with a single thing that you just said.
I love them all, but you know.
Kimberly's had her time. It's time for her to get canceled.
And you know, who hasn't already seen Jessica naked? So hey.
Well, we'll just leave that for the behind the scenes documentary. So, for the last marry, Kai, or cancel before we say our goodbyes, we have your hometown sisters you started with, Maliena Bitchcock, Fake It Nightly, and Natasha Blackwell.
Lord. I would marry Maliena.
Yes! She's good at that.
I would Kai with Faye because I know she's a freak.
Oh yeah, she's freaky.
I'm sorry, I would have to cancel Natasha.
My drag may be canceled. I mean, she's used to it. She's my baby. I can talk about her all I want. Diva, you survived the full interview of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock. And I'm so happy you came on here to share a little bit of the tea. Tell a little bit of everyone that you're not the big bad bitch everyone thinks you are.
Right. And you also see in a different light now. So.
Yeah, I think it's that little light with the red dot in the head.
Right, I know.
No, but again, I'm so happy you came on the show. And if you would like to support my special guest, Miss Diva Disaster, please look in the description where you can find the Venmo, the PayPal, and Cash App, and make sure to give her a tip.
Sometimes I like more than just the tip.
Ooh, absolutely. So keep your eyes open as we announce episode 12 of our special guest that will be coming out this Monday. I believe, actually, let's just reveal it. It's the one and only Chartreuse O'Hara. And let's really spill the tea, everyone. We will be live streaming her all the way from Scotland.
Wow.
I'm not
Hey.
even kidding you. This is going to be the furthest away interview that we've done yet.
Wow.
So
That's incredible. And she's fantastic. She's fierce.
she is so beautiful and so fabulous. So make sure you tune in for our next episode. In the meantime, thank you again for tuning in to Bitch Talk with Bitchcock as I interview the one and only Diva Disaster. I just want to say I love you all, and I hope you stay safe and have a fantastic weekend. So bye, y'all.
Bye.
Oh my God.